welcome to the Monday evening.
Love ball like I do. After Dark, it's a must listen.
It's where I go to get my hoops fixed.
This is Field of 68 After Dark.
Hello and welcome to the Saturday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. We are live from Neville Arena in beautiful Auburn, Alabama. Rob Dauster, Jeff Goodman. We're going to be joined in a little bit by Miles Kelly. We are also going to be joined here by Bruce Pearl because, Jeff, the number one team in America, the Auburn Tigers, knocked off the Tennessee Volunteers 53-51 here in a game that was
Ugly.
Thrilling,
Ugly.
exciting, close, physical, and pretty ugly. 53-51, Janai Broome comes back, 16 points, 13 rebounds, couple assists. Jeff, your biggest takeaway from Auburn's 53-51 win over Tennessee?
That they can win a game like this because they'd had the number one offense in the country. That's all anybody's talked about all year. And I think it's going to be interesting to ask both Bruce and Miles how important this was for them to prove they could win against a tough team like Tennessee and a grinder where they didn't make shots and the offense didn't look pretty. And Janai Broome was rusty. You could see it, right? He played hard, but he missed a lot of bunnies that he normally made.
Yeah, there were a couple shots around the rim in the second half that he's finishing for the most part. There were a couple threes in the first half where he threw it about 3 feet over the side of the backboard. It looked like a guy that hadn't really shot a basketball too much. You could see him limping on it in the second half. We were told coming into this game they wanted it in the 20-minute range. Yeah. Jeff, I don't have
how many minutes did he play?
33. 33. You knew that was going to happen. It's Tennessee.
Well, adrenaline, right? You get the
Tennessee,
adrenaline going. He looked fine, to be honest. You really couldn't tell by the way he was moving.
In the second half, you could.
Tired, but I think it was more fatigue than anything else. When you looked at him, you couldn't tell that he was at less than 100% with the way he was moving. That's all I'd say.
And just for the people at home that are watching, I got this brand new toy. I got a brand new switcher that I'm using to change the cameras, and I've messed it up twice already. And Dagan's yelling in my ear. This is the kind of show we got going today, baby.
Stop hitting all the buttons.
I do whatever I want. It's my show. It's my world. I'm going to make it work.
Unbelievable.
Listen, the thing that was most impressive to me, Jeff, was that it felt in the second half, towards the end of that game, there were a couple possessions where Auburn kind of came up empty, right? They went ahead 47-45, and I think they had 5 or 6 possessions where they got kind of the look you wanted, Janai Broome somewhere around the rim. They couldn't finish. Tennessee ends up tying it. No, they took the lead on the Chasler 3. 2 free throws from Zakai Ziegler got it to a 3-point lead. We got a free throw from Jemai Mayshake that got it to a 4-point lead, and then that's where we were. With about a minute and a half left, being able to bounce back. It felt like that game was gone. It kind of, sitting up here, it felt like that game was lost, and they found a way to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, Janai Broome drives to the basket, gets blocked, gets the ball back, and finds Miles Kelly wide open on the wing here who drains it, and Miles Kelly hadn't made a lot of shots. Nobody had. I mean, he wasn't the only one, but he hadn't made shots up to that point, drills that wide open 3, and that provides kind of the game winner. And, listen, I think the biggest thing you take away from this, again, is almost the winning culture that this team has established, right? Mm-hmm. They've won so many games that now they expect to win when they're in a game, whether it's a game in the 80s, a game like tonight, it's a grinder. They just expect to win, and I think that's the beauty of this team. They've got so many guys that can make plays.
Yeah, the thing that's really – it's kind of awkward about talking about the offense that Auburn has is that generally speaking with Bruce Pearl teams, they don't necessarily win the prettiest style of basketball, right?
No.
Like they want to play up and down. They want to shoot a lot of threes, but you're not watching like free-flowing offense with creative sets. Like the way that he wants to play is very different than what like a Dan Hurley or Greg McDermott wants to do offensively. But they're still this year one of the best offenses in America. That's what we've been talking about. They were before today. It's going to come down to today, but before today, they were on track to be the best offense in the Ken Pom era. And they just won a game ugly. They out Tennessee, which is a very difficult thing to do, but it shouldn't be surprising. Like that's what Bruce Pearl teams are.
Dylan Jones and Chad Baker-Mazara combined 0 for 13. They still won. They still won this game. And I think a big part, honestly, was the front court advantage. I was just talking to Rick Barnes about it in the locker room. And I said to him, like, you need more from Igor. You need more consistently from Igor. And he's like, yeah, that we're hoping. Now, again, Rick Barnes is probably the best post-game, I don't want to say loser, but he is. I mean, he's so positive. And he said to me, like, I know we have a long way we can get. We can grow a lot, and Igor is a big part of that. Because, again, Zakai Ziegler's terrific. And I know the numbers, maybe the field goal numbers don't really show that. But he got to the basket whenever he wanted, Rob. He could control the game. He had a good look at the end.
And if we're going to be honest, there were probably a couple of those drives where
he was fouled.
He was fouled. You know what? Right. After watching this game in person, I think my biggest takeaway, and I was talking to
it's going to be about SEC officiating?
No, about the style of play of the SEC. Yeah. I said this to you up there, and I don't know if you heard me because it was loud in this building tonight. But I think one of my biggest takeaways is that the SEC now is what the Big 12 was 4 years ago. What I mean by that is that there's a certain level of physicality that you have to have because refs aren't going to call fouls on every possession, but everybody plays that way. So, like, Tennessee is probably going to feel begrudged about a couple of foul calls. You know who else is going to feel begrudged about foul calls? Auburn, right? Yeah. And you know who that happens to every single game that we have in the SEC? Both teams. It is a war. It is a war.
I just saw Alabama play South Carolina and Auburn play South Carolina within the last 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And they're all wars. They're all wars because, again, there's a lot of talent in this league right now. And you knew Tennessee was going to come in and match their toughness, which they did. Right? I mean, it was an ugly first half. What were they? At one point, they were 2 for 30
both
from
teams
three?
Were 1 for 15 from three.
Right. I mean,
there was I think 9 minutes left in the game, and the score was 33 to 33.
Right. No, it was a real. And then they started making some shots, and again, I think the crowd was an advantage, which you knew it would be. I mean, it's amazing what Bruce Pearl has built here. I mean, just think again about how dead this place was when he got here. It was a graveyard job. Nobody wanted it. You know, Jeff Lebo and Tony Barbee had built like it was awful. It was like the worst Power 5 job in the country. And what Bruce Pearl's done in terms of, again, making it one of the best home court advantages in the country. And, again, you look at them and you're like, they're talented, but they're not, like, ultra talented.
That's the thing. Who's the NBA player? Like the surefire pro. Janai Broom's probably going to be like he's just too skilled and too big to not play at that level. But it's not like he's a guy that's a surefire lottery pick, right? Yeah. And we're now joined by Miles Kelly. Miles, we are live.
We're live.
Mics are hot.
So be careful what you say.
And
congrats.
Yeah, we have the man of the hour, Miles Kelly. You hit what ended up being the game-winning three tonight. First and foremost, I ask this every time we have someone to hit a game with a shot on. You knew it was good when it left your hand?
I knew it was good as soon as I left my hand. The coaches got on me a little bit because I passed up 2 opportunities before that. So I knew this one, I got opportunity in the game. I knew it was good as soon as it left my hands.
Talk to me about how that play kind of played out because it was designed for Janai on the roll, right? And then he drops it and he's falling out of bounds. So you just kind of – you happen to be in there in the corner? Was it designed that way?
Man, it was designed for Janai and Chad in the pick and roll. Janai, somebody ended up tipping his layup, and I was backing up to the three-point line, and I got a good look at the basket and just knocked the shot down.
All right, so I said it. This wasn't the prettiest game.
For sure.
All right? You guys have played some pretty games this year. This was not one of them. How important was it and maybe gratifying to win a game like this when your offense wasn't cooking?
I mean, it was definitely a relief. I mean, this is probably the ugliest win we've had this season.
Yes. Probably?
It is, actually. It is. So, I mean, we rely heavy on our offense, and I think tonight we took a huge step defensively. We got some huge stops down the stretch. Chaney Johnson wall up at the end of the game, and Janai Broom's rebounds, and I think we really took a huge step defensively, and we finding our identity defensively.
I feel like I was lied to though, Miles.
How?
Everyone told me Janai Broom was hurt. He played 33 minutes, had 16, 13, a couple assists.
I think
he was playing possum or something, right?
Some Tennessee hecklers put some stuff on his car, and after that, he knew who he was playing. After that, he's a character for sure.
In all seriousness, though, like how good he's been this year, I don't think we knew he was good, right? I did not realize the size that he has, the passing ability. I didn't realize how it was all going to come together this season. You're new to Auburn this year. How did you know what he was going to be when you got here, and how impressive you've been seeing what he's produced?
Right, I knew he was good, but after playing with him and playing some games, I didn't know he was going to be this good. And at his size and the touch he has, and how you have to double him. If you don't double him, he's going to have 25, 30 every night.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just amazing to be around a player like that. He pushes me every day in practice, and I push him every day in practice to get better. And I think it's a lot of reason why we have success as a team.
You know, they were raving the staff about you all summer. Mm-hmm. All summer it was like, wait, you're going to see a side of Miles Kelly that you haven't seen before. When did you realize that this was the right fit for you and you were kind of a missing piece? I mean, you guys have so many players that, to me, I think it's power in numbers with you guys, but I think you've added a dimension for this team that they didn't have before.
Right. I mean, my whole thing was just roster construction. Yeah. And I looked at the roster, and I think we had a lot of great pieces coming back, and I think we could really do something special with the addition of my talent. Yep. And BP and Steven did a great job of recruiting me and just allowing me to come in and play my game. And I think that was a huge factor for me, especially at a place like Auburn, top team in the country, playing the hardest schedule in the country, arguably. So, I mean, it was an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. Yeah.
You guys have the best offense in America. It didn't really look like it tonight, but you have the best offense in college.
Well, we'll see what those numbers do after tonight.
Yeah, we'll see.
I know.
But Bruce Pearl teams are known for winning games ugly, right? And there's going to be a lot of points. You're going to get down. You're going to shoot a lot of threes. But they're out there. They win with their toughness. They win with their physicality. And you did that tonight. But what kind of statement does that make?
I mean, it makes a huge statement. I think that's something that BP and the coaching staff really preaches is toughness, making physicality plays, and I know that's something that he harps on me a lot about, because I mean that's part of the reason why I came here, to show my defensive side, so I can really guard the ball, get up in the ball, and rebound and make physicality plays. And I think he really preaches that, and I think that's how we got those rebounds down the stretch, and it translates on the court.
All right, I want to know, you've only been here for a semester now. Mm-hmm. How do you celebrate a win like this tonight here? Where do you go?
My birthday is tomorrow.
No way.
Yeah.
How old are you, Miles?
22.
All right, you're young. You're actually young.
I'm still young.
There's some guys that are like, 25, 26.
Yeah, for sure. But I don't know. Just probably my family's here.
Cool.
So probably get something to eat with them.
Get a free meal, or do you pay? Do you pay with the NIL now? Do they look to you to pay instead of you looking to them to pay?
That's the beauty of NIL. I try to pay as much as I can.
Good.
Just to repay that favor. Because I know those AAU trips, they were all paying stuff for the gas and everything. So I try to repay the favor every time we go to Denver.
All right, let's end it with this, Miles, and then you can go celebrate with your family. Celebrate your birthday, 22nd birthday. Everyone better wish him a happy birthday. Who takes the more ridiculous shots in practice, Chad or Tahad?
Hey, he might take some too, all right?
I think we all take some, but I think the real answer to that is Chad. But the thing is, like, he practices crazy shots in practice. Like, every time he gets a chance, he's practicing a full court shot or a half court shot or some type of fadeaway out the corner where he can't even see behind the basket. So I think
his energy, though, man.
His energy is contagious.
Awesome.
I think it really transfers.
You can see it.
You can definitely see it.
Totally see it. I feel like, and I was around you guys earlier in the year against Duke, that loss. They were not going to invite me back,
For sure.
Lost to Duke, almost lost to South Carolina. I was at that one. If you lost tonight, I was probably done. But I feel like the chemistry of this team, you can kind of tell. And the other thing is, you guys know when to flip the switch, don't you? Sure. And be all about, hey, now it's time to, be all business.
For sure. I think that's just a testament of how mature this group is. We have 10 seniors and 2 freshmen. And I think it just goes hand in hand with with flipping that switch and knowing when to lock in and knowing when to get stops, knowing when to make big shots. And I think it really translates to the court.
Yeah, you know when to make big shots. So you just knew, like, I got to make that big shot in the corner, right?
What's crazy is I was thinking in my head before the shot even came, I was like, if I get the ball and then this game winner, I got to hit it. So,
yeah, it's going
that's
up.
what happened, and it went in. So
it's a big one. Yeah. Probably the biggest, right? Biggest shot of your career? I mean,
almost.
What's bigger?
I had when I was at Georgia Tech, I had a game winner versus Georgia. So that's like
all right. I'll give you. This is like 1 versus 6.
But
come on.
To this defense, this is the highest ranked team that's come into Auburn history.
Right.
And this is probably the probably the biggest shot.
You got to say, I see those the earrings you got in right now. You got to say this is the biggest one. You can't say it was Georgia Tech. Listen, congratulations on the win.
So
go and celebrate this.
Happy birthday, my man. All right.
Yeah, and for your birthday, make sure someone else picks up the check tonight. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, you get out of here because we're gonna wait for Bruce.
I
appreciate you, Miles.
You got it, man.
Miles Kelly, the star of the night.
Hit the biggest shot. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're waiting on Bruce.
He doesn't make that shot. Tennessee celebrating most likely, right?
Most likely,
it's a totally
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, unless something crazy happens, like what happened in Fog Allen tonight.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
We're going to talk about
bananas
here in a little bit.
Today was crazy.
Let me ask you this, because we're going to get Bruce out here in a second. So I do want to talk about the Tennessee angle here for just a minute, right? Does this make you feel better about him? Does it change your opinion? Makes you feel better about him?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you look at and you say, all right, they didn't make shots, they didn't score, so you can kind of revert back to like old Tennessee, right? You go back to old Tennessee. Oh, here we go again. Obviously they're not the juggernaut that some other teams are, like Auburn offensively. But I still think, again, they've got room to grow there. You know, you still got Ziegler, you got Childs Lanier. You need somebody up front, and it's probably not going to be Akpara, right? So that, to me, it's Milicic. It is. Igor's got to step up, has to. Yeah. And if he doesn't, you're a little bit limited in your ceiling.
Yeah, I think. But even if he steps up, I just think that they are not
limited anyway.
Limited is the wrong way to phrase it, because I think that they're a top 10 team.
Right.
But I think that
you don't think they're a Final Four team. You think that they could get there with the certain breaks, right?
Yes,
they'd have to get some breaks.
I think. Let me put it like this: I think that it is easier to make deep runs in the tournament if you're kind of constructed the way that like a Florida is or an Alabama is, where you could just go nuclear and beat everybody. Whereas with Tennessee, like if you happen to get a game where they're calling a tight whistle, that might beat you up a little bit. That might cost you. But no,
they're not a team that blows you away.
The way that I phrase it is this: to me, they're a top 10 team, just like Florida is, just like Alabama is, just like Auburn is, just like I'm missing somebody in the SEC. But they're a top 10 team, but they're closer to like 10 than they are to top 3.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think that they are a team that can make a Final Four. I think that they are.
You like Florida better because they have Florida, 3 guards and some bigs.
Let me put it like
this: they have more weapons.
I'm picking to win a game right now, I think Tennessee's more likely to win a game than Florida. I think Florida's
more likely to go on a run,
to make a little bit of a run.
Yeah, I agree.
And part of that is just because of the way that Tennessee is constructed. They don't really have a star, right? I was kind of impressed with the ability of Zakai Ziegler to get to the basket today. But what you run into is if you're relying on a 5'9" guy to go and finish around the rim, that's a tough thing to do, to rely on him.
It is
to be able to do.
That's the hardest part. When your best player is 5'9".
And here's the other thing, like.
And he's awesome.
When you get to the tournament, when you get into nut cutting time in SEC games, that whistle's not going to be as friendly as you want it to be. If it's on the road, if it's in a neutral site. And we saw that tonight with Zakai. And if you're 5'9", it's a little bit harder for you to be able to play through some of those physicality issues and some of those toughness situations. And you keep looking. I can't see him.
He's coming. Bruce is coming.
On the way. All right, Bruce.
This is about as fast as I've seen him move in a while.
Look at him go.
He must have
bad knee and all.
He must have dinner plans after this.
We're live. Mics are hot, Bruce.
See?
Come on.
How are you? You're doing well.
Great.
You tired?
I'm not. I'll be tired later on tonight. We made a great team. Like guys, here's the deal. I can tell you right now, our guys were in the locker room talking how good they were. Doesn't happen very often. They like, oh shit, how good is Meshack defensively?
Oh, he plays so hard,
and
so hard.
effectively.
Yes.
And Ziegler is, he's impossible. He's a great New York City point guard, and he went up against a young Jersey kid.
Yes.
And he bothered to hide. Well, he's got 4 years on him. But I think I'll tell you what, our kids really left that game going, holy shit, Tennessee's really good.
Yeah.
They're not as good as on the front line. Our front line.
Right. That's what I said. I said that was kind of the difference.
Yeah, it was a difference. That was the difference. If you'd have looked at the stat sheet and said our guards are going to shoot that percentage, there's no chance.
Zero.
We have zero chance to win.
Right.
But you know what? It's an older team. Tennessee, I don't know anybody's going to beat them at home.
Not many. Not many.
And you can see they came
You
in
can say
here.
that about every single team in the SEC this year.
Yeah.
It just everybody's good. Everyone's got good home court environments, and it's just tough to win on the road.
It is. It is.
I remember coming years ago, Bruce, when you played Kentucky. It had to be like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was the start of the build
Yeah.
a little bit. And now, like, you come in the back then it was like, if you won against a big-time team, it was a big upset.
Yeah.
Now the difference is the culture's there. There's the expectation.
Yep. Jeff, you mentioned culture.
Yeah.
There was a lot of culture and character in that game tonight.
Yeah, both ends.
Both ends.
Yeah.
And I think, I think those guys those guys really played hard, and they guarded too.
Yep.
Jeff, it was 10 years ago. Absolutely. We beat Kentucky for the first time in 18 tries.
Is that what it was 10 years ago?
It was actually 10 years ago because of my second year. And, that was – we had to do – you have to do things. We didn't have a team that could win championships, but you still got to show your fans as you're building a program, you got to win a couple games you're not supposed to win. And we did that the first couple of years. And then year 3, we won 18, and we were on our way.
Yeah. I want to just – Miles Kelly, the shot that he took in the corner, that's why you brought him in, was to be able to be that floor spacer. He had a big one. He ran off the screen and hit it at the top of the key, which you guys really needed. Got the lid off the basket a little bit for you, but that shot in the corner, not what you drew up. I know what you drew up. You're trying to get the screen and roll to Janai, and he drops the pass and somehow makes the game-winning assist.
Janai, he's a gamer. Like, he really is. He really is a gamer. And I thought,
he's not the best practice player, is he, Bruce?
no, he's not a great practice player. Not many KG veterans are your best practice players. But I had absolutely, Jeff and I were talking before the game. He was questionable whether he'd play. He didn't start. And I said, look, let's give it a shot. You tell me how it feels. I thought 20 at the most.
Yeah, you said that.
At the most. No, really.
Yeah.
And because he didn't hardly practice Thursday and Friday. But look, we don't win that game without the player of the year. We just don't. And I told him he had a triple-double. He had 16 points, 13 rebounds, and he missed 12 shots. So he had
missed a lot of bunnies in there, didn't he?
I was going to ask you, to me, what the impact of that ankle injury was just you didn't look like he had the same burst around the bucket. Like, he missed a lot of shots that you're going to make.
Yep. He didn't quite have the lift and everything like that. Jeff, you guys talked about, we had the advantage inside. Our frontline guys, Cheney Johnson, got some big buckets. Janai, and both teams are elite defensively, even on the interior. But man, I'll tell you the other thing that's going to go on. You're going to see this in college basketball now. The book's out on every team. Mm-hmm. The book's out on every player. And so you wonder why offenses are going to start to shrink a little bit. Because look, I played. You see my bag. Yeah. Well, I ain't got much more in the bag. I mean, what we do is what we do, and everybody knows.
Especially when it's worked.
Right. And so what? Tennessee said, no, we're going to make you do something else. Now, the question is, can we now do something else? Can we? I think it'd be an interesting study. I bet you scores drop as the season goes on in conference play because everybody's got such great scouts on each other.
Do you feel like when I've seen you now, again, I've seen you lose at Duke and South Carolina, you struggled a little bit, and tonight you struggled to score. So I haven't seen probably your 3 best performances, okay? I'm still invited back, right? I'm invited back.
Remind me what happened last time
2-1.
Down here.
It's 2-1. It's not the prettiest 2-1, but
go ahead, finish your point. I want to make a point. Go ahead, finish your point.
My point is, do you feel like you're number 1, and I've had you number 1 for 6 weeks, whatever it is, but I feel like the gap isn't that significant from 1 to 10 this year.
Oh, no, it's not.
You feel that way too? That
absolutely.
You're not UConn from a year ago or anything like that.
No. And Duke's getting better. Duke's getting better. Who won Houston, Kansas?
It was an incredible game. Houston won in double overtime.
Was up 6 with 13 seconds left and gave it. Missed shooting free throws.
They were up 6 in regulation and in overtime.
Hit a 3.
That was one of the craziest. And Houston actually got a good whistle at 5 Gallon, believe it or not.
Yeah. They deserve it because they're a great team.
Yep.
I'm gonna stick up for Jeff a little bit. Sometimes when Jeff and I are friends, we are friends. Known each other a long time. We worked together a little bit.
Bruce carried me.
No, I did not carry. You carried a show. I just showed up in my underwear. We did late night radio.
We did.
But what happens is two things. One, he doesn't want to put too much on me because you know what he doesn't want to build up our teams and have me not meet expectations. So he's always a little under. He underpreaches.
I undersell.
He undersells a little bit and then the other thing to do, he doesn't want to get caught by blowing me up too much. Oh, you just kissing Pearl's ass because you guys used to work together, right? And so, but you're right. You haven't seen us really play well.
Not great.
You haven't seen us play great. But I just think that's going to be the way it's going to be. I think it's going to be that way the rest of the year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, this league.
Yeah.
Again, if you're going to struggle at South Carolina, and they're right now the win-lose team in the league, anywhere you go, it's a battle.
Yeah, and I think how coaches and how locker rooms handle losing, how they handle winning, you can't get too high, which we have not. Our team has won a lot of games. We've not. We've maintained our humbleness, our focus, and so on and so forth.
Cardwell helps you with that too, doesn't he?
He does because he's such an unselfish kid. He's such a, but I want.
I don't think you saw it after the game.
I want more from Dylan. I want more from Cheney. I want more from Denver.
Yeah.
I want more.
Yeah.
You should have seen it after the game. Dylan was giving the mascot a piggyback ride over to the students. It was hilarious.
No, you have a fun team. I mean, you do. You have a fun team. There's some immaturity there.
A little bit.
Right, Chad? It's got some maturity.
I want them to have fun.
Yeah.
I want them to enjoy what they're doing and what's not to enjoy. I mean, Auburn, Alabama's going to be crazy tonight. You know, those guys just are out there and they're careful. They do have tomorrow off. And, one of the things, look, the other thing, too, is on this campus and on our team, God is alive and well. And we really live it. We got a wonderful team pastor. Our guys are in prayer. Most of our guys will be in church tomorrow. And I think all I can say is we got a lot to be grateful for. And I think one of the things about kids, young kids, they're not always grateful.
Yeah.
Some of them are a little spoiled, and they have some expectations. And you know what I want to do? I don't want to spoil them rotten because I'll slap the rotten right out of them. But I want them to be grateful. You got a chance to play in front of this crowd.
Oh, no question.
With this support and all the people coming out for college game day, our guys appreciate it. One thing I'm really glad about, they appreciate it. If we'd have lost tonight or when we do lose, I guarantee you our guys will be as sorry that we let you down, fans, as much as anything.
I can end it with this. This is the last one I got. When you got Chad out here shooting some of the shots that he shoots, and Tahad shooting some of the shots that he shoots, and they throw them up, and you're over here on the sideline. It might be an air ball, but you're like, it's all right. It's a good shot.
Yeah.
I think the ability you have to coach confidence into players and to not break it. 99% of the coaches in the country, when Tahad shot an air ball over here, and the 2 possessions later, takes a deeper step back with another hand in his face and shoots another air ball, and you kept letting him go. Like, well, how do you manifest that, and how do you, as a coach, deal with those shots that are going up?
Did you think those tough shots could go in?
Yeah.
So I did too. I think Chad Baker's good. Those shots are going to go in. Now the trade-off. Here's a trade-off. You need to play.
You got to guard. Yeah, you got
to guard. Yeah. Like in other words, I got no patience for you missing a checkout and getting big boyed. I got no patience for that. I got plenty of patience. You go do your thing.
That's like the Marcus Smart deal. That was the Marcus Smart deal with Brad Stevens.
Yeah.
You can jack 10 threes, but you better be the best damn defender on the court.
And he was most of the time.
He was. So you, last thing for me, you're the number 1 team in the country.
Yep.
You also have the best student tandem here of Vince and JoJo on the Field of 68 network.
Yep.
They're unbelievable. They are incredible.
Wow. Right,
I mean, we had them on our show last night.
Yeah.
We have not had students on our show. So you got to keep taking care of them.
They both picked Tennessee, though, last night.
No, they did not. No. Come on.
I think you recognize young talent, and they're around.
Yeah.
And
great program here, too.
Yep. And we've also not given them anything to hate on us for.
That helps.
But they're not fans.
It helps when you win.
It obviously helps when you win. But I think they, we've developed trust. I don't mind them being around. I don't mind them being around.
The good thing is they didn't hear our serious show years ago.
Oh man, yeah. But I think sometimes what happens is to be successful in media, you got to have a gotcha. Yeah. Who can have that shtick where I'm going to get you?
Yep.
I don't know that always works. Be honest and be fair. Try to be accurate.
Yep.
But and that sometimes could be, and I'm glad they're not. I'm glad they're not like that way, because they recognize, look, these kids are still kids now.
They're pros, though. I'm telling you, they are. These really two are pros.
That's good. Well, we're glad that you guys put them here to help expand the coverage. And,
all right, go to dinner. Get to dinner. It's late. I don't know where you're going at this point.
We're going to Lucy's.
All right. Maybe we'll join you in an hour.
Yeah, come on over.
All right.
You better hurry up.
Steven going to get over there?
I probably got.
Steven's got to go back with the baby.
2 beverages and a burger, and I'm done. That's it. 2 beverages and a burger, I'm done.
All right.
War Eagle.
There you have it. Bruce Pearl. Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, man.
Always good to see
Appreciate you.
Good to be here. It's great to be in Auburn. I'll tell you that much. Great to be in Auburn. I never thought 10 years later that I didn't know Bruce would still be here. I thought maybe we'd be doing a serious show again.
He said you're taking what job?
Remember? You remember that in the radio building?
Oh, my God.
You remember it vividly. I did. I said, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Yeah, I think you said you needed the money.
See you, Bruce. Listen, that was Bruce Pearl.
Something like that.
Thank you to Bruce Pearl. Thank you to Miles Kelly. We'll be back. We got to talk about this Houston-Kansas game, and we are going to do that coming up next. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up-to-the-second against-the-spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up or download at the link in the description. Well, welcome back to the Saturday evening edition. Field of 68 After Dark. We are live from Neville Arena in Auburn, Alabama. Rob Dauster, Jeff Goodman. Miles Kelly just joined us. Bruce Pearl just joined us. Number 1 Auburn. Knocked off number 6 Tennessee 53-51. The hardest part about doing these on-site shows, Jeff, on a Saturday is that it was an insane slate of games. And we were posted up at the Draft House earlier, and we had it set up. It couldn't have been a better setup. Shout out to Lydia, our server. We had the big screen TV over there. She put on whatever we wanted. We had the 2 side TVs. We had the Wi-Fi going. We had I think we had at 1.4 games on 2 separate laptops. It was about as ideal of a setup as you can get, but it's just hard to keep track of everything. You can't when you're not at home. So
especially when you're at a game too.
So we did. We actually did. We were on press row watching the end of that Houston-Kansas game, which is as wild of a finish as I can remember. Houston beats Kansas 92-86 in double overtime. Kansas was up 66-60 with 1 minute and 10 seconds left in regulation. They had a bad possession. They missed the front end. They had a turnover. There was a 5-second violation trying to inbound the ball, and they end up fouling Juwan Roberts. with, I believe it was 13 seconds left. He made both free throws, and then they couldn't get a shot off at the other end. Goes to overtime. They're up 79-73 with 13 seconds left. Shooting free throws.
Right.
DeJuan Harris misses the front end of the one. Emmanuel Sharp comes down, bangs a three. You got a turnover on the next inbounds. And Malik Wilson, shout out to Malik Wilson. He bangs a three. Goes to the second overtime, right? After Kansas. I can't remember who missed the shot at the end of regulation off the top of my head. I'm doing everything off of my phone.
Who was that?
Running it. But regardless, Houston outscores them 13-7 in double overtime. Flory Badinga fouls out, and Houston comes away with that win. Your biggest takeaway from the Cougs knocking off the Jayhawks?
I mean, just shock and disbelief that Kansas could piss this away twice, being up 6 with whatever it was, 20 seconds left, both in regulation and the first overtime at Fog Allen. At Fog Allen.
Mm-hmm.
The 5-second call at Fog Allen against Kansas. Like, they actually got a pretty good whistle. I was there last year. They didn't get a good whistle, and they got completely run in that game, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas wasn't very good coming in, and they destroyed Houston in that one. And they were a dog, I think, in that one as well, weren't they? They were a home dog in that one.
Yeah, because they were bad before that. Yeah.
So they're a home dog again in this one. And again, you just feel like game's over twice in regulation in the first overtime. And again, they're without KJ Adams, but I feel like they kind of found something with Flory Badunga as a starter. Didn't you? Don't you feel like – I know they didn't close out this game, but I feel like he's just so dominant physically. He's such a specimen. And KJ is too, but KJ is what, 6?
It's
6?
different. It's different. So what Flory brings you is it's the length around the bucket, right? Like Flory is built like a Houston big man.
Yeah, he's a true 5-man.
But no. What I mean by that is when you have the Houston bigs, what Kelvin Sampson has is a never-ending string of 6'8" guys with a 7'6" wingspan that play their nuts off for 40 minutes, that know how to get to the offensive glass and like survive based off of their toughness and their athleticism, and that's what Flory does. And he brings you a different level of rim protection. He brings you a different level of rebounding. Yeah. He brings you a different level of being able to finish in and around the bucket. Like the high-low offense you can run with Hunter Dickinson and Flory Badinga is so much different than what you can run when you have KJ out there. And it's not – I don't think it's a knock on KJ. I think it's a knock on KJ's fit next to Hunter Dickinson. And I think that when you have Hunter's ability to kind of the passing out of the high post, you can take so much more advantage of that with Hunter at the high post and Flory down there than with KJ running some of those short rolls and Hunter in and around the rim.
And on the other end of the court, Flory, what he can do in terms of erasing things and making up for some of Hunter's deficiencies defensively.
Yeah.
KJ can't do those same things. He can't.
Yeah,
he can't.
You're not wrong.
He doesn't have the same ability to –
I think it allows Bill Self to get a little bit more creative. I think that Kansas is going to be a really, really good defensive team, whether or not you have Flory or KJ out there. I think that the impact is what it allows you to be a little bit more.
The key tonight, I think
the key
on both ends.
The key tonight was that Juwan Roberts.
Oh, he was a man.
Unstoppable.
He was a man.
There must have been 15 times down the stretch where Houston ran that little ball screen, and all they were trying to do was get a little short roll and get it to Juwan Roberts, isolated on that left elbow, where all he had to do was take one dribble with his left hand, put his shoulder into Hunter Dickinson, create a little space, and hit that little lefty. I don't even know if it's a hook, if it's a runner, if it's a floater off the glass. He probably made that shot 7 times tonight, and it's unguardable. And I think Juwan is one of the best stories in college basketball that nobody talks about. He's a 6th-year senior at Houston that has been there through the growth of this Houston program, right? You identify Houston basketball with Juwan Roberts right now. And I don't know what his NIL deal is there, but I will tell you this. Knowing what other big men got by going into the portal, Juwan Roberts could be making 2 commas with a crooked number in the front if he had decided to transfer out of Houston.
Who would you rather have right now, Juwan Roberts or Great Al Sabor or Coleman Hawkins? I mean, no disrespect to those guys, but
Juwan Roberts is an All-American.
Yeah,
there are 5 big guys I'd rather have than Juwan Roberts right now.
And the other big thing, and I was texting with somebody on the Houston staff tonight, was Milo Suzan and how he's developed. And what they said to me was,
he had 17 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists tonight, and had 2 huge floaters at the end of the first overtime.
He looked lost in Vegas when I saw them play 3 times. He looked lost. He didn't attack. And what somebody on their staff told me was, instead of trying to fit him into Jamal Shedd's offense, we changed the offense for him. We changed it for him to fit him and his strengths better. And obviously it's worked. And again, listen, there was some luck involved tonight. There was clearly some luck involved. But what Houston did, again, going and playing toe-to-toe with Kansas at Fog Allen, where a year ago they couldn't play with them. And really this Houston team that a lot of us felt like coming out of Vegas, they're like a third-tier team. We had preseason, what were they? Top 5?
Yeah. What I'll say is
they were like a forgotten team for a while.
Yeah, and what I'll say is this. My concern was that they didn't have somebody that could go get you one at the end of a clock the way that Jamal Shedd could.
Right.
And I do think now that after watching tonight's game, if you can get and look, I'm not saying that Milos Uzan needs to get 17, 9-9 every single night.
No, but be a weapon.
But he was you could trust him to go make a play against DeJuan Harris and get into lane to make a floater, right? You could trust him to make those plays where you drew help and was able to get the ball to Juwan Roberts on that short roll. You could trust Juwan Roberts in those isolation situations. And that kind of seeing that changes it a little bit for me. And especially like when they won at UCF, you know what they ran at the end of that game to get the game-winning bucket? That same play where you got Juwan Roberts going to his left hand, create that contact, get that space, and hit that little bank shot off.
Yeah, they don't have like a go-to guy. They don't really have that. But now you've got a weapon in Juwan Roberts that maybe you certainly didn't have in November. I mean, he wasn't doing that in November.
It's a lot easier in a big moment to rely on Milo Suzan getting a paint touch and making something happen, or running that ball screen and getting it to Juwan Roberts, than it is, okay, let's give it to LJ Cryer, let's let him ISO and try to get a 3 off, right? Like, Cryer is a weapon. Don't get me wrong. He's a great player. Same thing with Emmanuel Sharp. He's still kind of banged up. He's got the foot thing.
Yeah.
Got
hurt again tonight.
Kid. Tough kid, but it's still – he's a weapon, and he's a very good player, but living and dying with them taking tough threes in a possession where – they're trying to get a tough 3 is not – that's a hard way to survive on big possessions. And I think they found something with Milos and Juwan tonight.
Kansas. I actually feel much better about them after tonight. You know why? Rylan Griffin. Been waiting for it. Been waiting for it. Waiting. We haven't seen it out of Rylan Griffin or AJ Storr. Still didn't see it out of AJ Storr tonight. But you need one of them. You've had Zeke Mayo. And now I wonder if, again, I think Bill Self can go to KJ and say, all right, you know what? You're hurt. Like, we're going to bring you off the bench now. We're going to bring you off the bench. It just doesn't fit. Just doesn't fit as well. We need you off the bench. And KJ Adams is going to do whatever Kansas needs him to do. He's the ultimate team player, winner, all of that. So I actually feel much better if you can build on this for Rylan Griffin. That's the key. Put him in the starting lineup, keep him in there, and see if he can become a consistent threat. Because if he can make shots, Zeke Mayo can make shots. You got Hunter, you got Flory, you got DeJuan Harris. That's still a pretty darn good 5, and it fits better than certainly it did prior.
Yeah.
Like Shaquille Moore off the bench.
No, I like his addition to the starting lineup. I like what he brings. But I think the bigger point is you found yourself like a nice 7 to 8 man rotation, right? And look, they tried to go small ball with AJ Storr for a while here. I understand that they're limited because of bodies, and they tried to put him at the 4, and it's just not working, man. He's the wrong fit. And I don't know if this is the right time to have this conversation. Maybe we could do it at some point, maybe a little later when we don't have such a busy slate. But there's a conversation to be had about the fact that you really need to, with the amount of money we're spending on kids out of the portal, you really, really got to be able to do your homework and identify not just the talent fits, the personality fits, because AJ Storr is not the right fit for what this Kansas basketball program is. I want to stick in the Big 12 real quick, and then we can move on. Iowa State 76, Arizona State 61. They were down by 7 at the half. They were trailing with, I want to say, 7:15 left. Curtis Jones finished with 33 points. Since moving into the starting lineup with Milan Momcilovic, went out with the hand injury. Curtis Jones, 23.8 points, 7.3 rebounds, shooting 45% from three. Second time in 14 days, Iowa State's gone on the road, gotten themselves in a big hole, and come back to find a way to win. They're now 18-2 on the season, in second place in the Big 12. Houston or Iowa State?
Iowa State. I'll take Iowa State. I will.
Interesting.
I know. And it's not easy, although I just made it sound easy.
Yeah.
I didn't really hem and haw over it, but I just really love this Iowa State team. Something about them. Both have incredible cultures, right? Toughness, all that. I just think Iowa State, the difference is they can score. This team can score now. Curtis Jones, Joshua Jefferson was one of the best additions in the entire country now. He gives them that versatile, multidimensional forward. I like, and again, wait till Milan comes back. Wait till he comes back. He'll be back in a month. And some of these other guys are going to have more opportunities. This Iowa State team, and we never talk about Tamin Lipson. Never.
Well, he's banged up. Like he's not himself.
But
like,
we don't talk about him. The dude is just like the numbers don't tell the story.
Yeah, he's a winner.
Right.
We talk about it a little bit with DeJuan Harris in the sense that the wins tell more than the numbers when it comes to point guards, right? Like that's kind of the cliche.
Yep.
I think that fits more for Tamin Lipsey than just about anybody else in college basketball right now. I will say, I think I lean a little bit towards Houston at this point. Shout out to Vince, our water boy.
Our
water boy. For the people listening at home, he just dropped us some waters. Goodman's dying over here.
I need water.
I think I lean.
You going Houston?
I don't know. I don't think it's as.
You want to put a little side wager on this?
Who
goes further, Houston or Iowa State?
Oh, you're talking about further in the tournament
Sure.
or winning the Big 12?
Either one.
I think I would bet on. No, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I'll go with Houston.
Okay.
I'll take Houston.
On both.
Yeah.
So it could be a split. It could be a split.
We'll
come up with a wager, but
I honestly I don't feel that strongly about it. Like I think both of them are awesome.
They are. They really are.
How about
awesome.
this? Whoever loses that wager, we got to buy a jersey. The other one's got to wear that jersey on the day of the show after they lose.
All right, that's fair.
Right? Yeah,
that's fair.
Right, there you go. Perfect deal. Arizona, surprisingly enough, tied with Iowa State, second place in the Big 12 at 7-1. They beat Colorado today, 78-63. Are
you buying the Arizona
know.
Wildcats as anything more than the highest level would be a Sweet 16 team? Are you buying them anything more than that?
I think Sweet 16 is even a little higher than what I would say, but they've
But
also,
a high level, you could see them making a Sweet 16.
But here's what they've done in the Big 12. They won at Cincinnati. They won at West Virginia. They beat Baylor. Their only loss is at Texas Tech.
Right.
And they are now 7-1 in the league. They've turned this thing around at the very least, to get it
but
going.
They've had a favorable Big 12 schedule early. Let's be honest.
But it's also they won at Cincinnati. They won at West Virginia by 19.
I know West Virginia. I just feel like that West Virginia win.
It's going to come back to earth a little bit. Yeah.
They're coming down to earth, West Virginia.
Yeah.
I know they've had some incredible wins, even without, Tucker DeVries. But
I'll tell you this. If we have any questions about Arizona, answers are coming on Monday night.
Yeah, they got Iowa State, right?
10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Iowa State is heading to
late.
Tucson to play Arizona it would have been. I was a lot more excited for this when it was the winner would be first place in the Big 12.
Yeah.
When I just assumed that DeJuan Harris going to the free throw line up by 6 with 13 seconds left in Fog Allen Fieldhouse meant that Kansas was going to win a basketball game. But that's not the way that things go when you are here. It's not a Big 12 game, right?
Okay.
And we'll get to Kentucky here in this segment. We got to talk about Mizzou and Ole Miss, but it's the craziest game of the day in college basketball. Texas A&M.
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M was up by 22. It was 51-29 with 17 minutes left, and they come storming back.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody saw this. All of us picked Texas A&M last night when Texas A&M was a 1.5 favorite, right? Trey Johnson had 30, hit a huge shot late. Tramon Mark had the game winner with 3 seconds left. A&M lost one, melted away one on the road, or one because Ole Miss melted one away at Ole Miss on, I believe that was Wednesday night, and they turned around tonight and gave one right back to Texas.
I just feel like sometimes when you have Wade Taylor and Zurich Phelps, that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Now you come back, like we said, you come back and win a game like you did against Ole Miss, and then you can lose one like you did tonight. They're not the most stable backcourt in the country. They're super electric, and again, they can go for 50 in a given night. But they can also, they're not the best about protecting the basketball, right?
For sure.
You wanted to kind of take the air out of the ball a little bit there, especially, I mean, we saw it, like they're still getting big offensive rebounds. The bigs are doing their job. I just think, again, those guards need to be time and score in that one. Now, Trey Johnson got hot as hell. And this was one that Texas kind of had to have in a way.
Because they didn't have Arthur Kaluma either.
Right.
Like, so here's the bigger picture question. And we talked about this a little bit at Draft House this afternoon. When you're talking about teams in the SEC, right?
Yep.
If you had to say, oh, there's no doubt these teams are going to be in the tournament.
You want to run through again?
This is my list right now.
Yep.
I would have Auburn,
yep,
Alabama,
yep,
Florida, Tennessee, Ole Miss, probably Mizzou after beating Ole Miss today.
Yep.
A&M.
Yep.
Kentucky. I think that Mississippi State is
close.
Should be in that
They're
conversation.
damn close.
The bottom could fall out. It's just one of those ones where
I
I'm
don't
worried
think it
about the
will.
SEC,
I think they
but
got
I
enough.
think that they're pretty safe.
Yeah, me too.
Vanderbilt is now 16-4, 4-3 in the SEC with wins over Tennessee and wins over Kentucky, both at home.
Yep.
But 2 top 10 wins to their name, which is going to be significantly better than the majority of the other bubble teams, and they're already in our field. I believe Dagan will correct me in my ear if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean they're probably like a 9 seed after today.
I think they were an 11 seed heading into today. Texas is now. Texas was first 4 out, and that was before beating Texas A&M.
Right.
They're 14-6. They're 3-4 in the SEC. They beat Missouri, and they beat Texas A&M.
Yeah.
So they got some scalps. That's 11 teams right there. That's before we talk Georgia. That's before we talk Oklahoma. That's before LSU, who's probably going to fall away here. That's before Arkansas, who is, they're not making it. And that's before South Carolina, who's now 0-4 in the league. Like, I don't know how you get past 11. And the more I look at it, Rocco Miller, shout out to Rocco Miller, because I don't know how his brain works, but he always thinks about stuff like this. He's made this point on our bracketology, the show, the Fielding the 68. Mondays, Fridays, 5 p.m., Fielding the 68. Make sure you check it out. The best bracketologist you're going to find on the college basketball internet. He's always said that the numbers are not going to work for you to be able to get 12 bids.
Pretty hard.
And I think that you're starting to see it stealth kind of
let's go through who's already out, right? South Carolina's out.
Yes.
Arkansas is probably out unless they're going some crazy run. They're done.
They're out.
LSU, hard to imagine, right? So those 3 are probably gone already. You know, you're looking at Georgia's 2-5 now. Like at this pace, they're going to have trouble, right? One of Georgia, Oklahoma is going to be out, I would say.
I think that at this point, I probably think that both of them
they're both out.
Yeah, I think
as of today. I mean, Oklahoma's 2 games under 500, and they've got some good non-conference wins. They did a good job in the non-conference.
But here's the thing: 2-4.
Yeah,
that will be the. Let's just say that Oklahoma ends up 6-12 in the SEC. 2-4 projects to 6-12, and they get a couple of decent wins, a couple more decent wins.
Yep.
That's going to be the really, really interesting one because they will be 19-12 in the season heading into the SEC tournament if that's the case. And they do have a couple of good wins.
I mean, they beat Arizona, they beat Louisville, they beat Michigan on a neutral court. All those are neutral court wins.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're going to get some wins in the SEC. Again, they don't have any yet. They beat South Carolina and Arkansas so far, and those are nothing. So they're going to need they're going to need to knock off some teams at home that are resume wins. If they do that, they might be in at least position.
I forgot about the Michigan. Like Louisville is only going to look better, and Michigan
That's what I'm saying.
Looks pretty damn
That's
good
what I'm
right
saying.
now.
And Arizona's looking better.
Yes,
those are 3 really good non-conference wins right now.
Maybe you're right. Maybe
6 wins might put them. It'll put them on the bubble. I will say that with their resume in the non-conference and getting a few resume wins in which you're going to have to do. I mean, all you're doing. Look at who they're playing from here on out. They don't play one team. They play LSU at home. Other than that, Rob, they don't play another team, and at Texas the last game of the season. That's it. Those are their 2 easiest games of the year left.
They could this could go bad.
It could go awful. They could end up with, honestly, they could end up winning 4.
Hey,
so we're probably arguing about nothing here.
Since we're talking about Oklahoma,
you
want to get your John Calipari jokes in now?
Why? Why would I do that?
You didn't see what happened. Oklahoma went into Fayetteville.
They did?
Went into Bud Walton and beat Arkansas today.
I know. Yes, Arkansas is now 1-6. They were celebrating a home win against Georgia for their first SEC win, and they turn around, and what do? They could have had momentum. They should have had momentum going into John Calipari's return a week from today into Rupp Arena in Lexington, in which he's going to get booed
mercilessly.
Yeah, probably.
What do you think the worst reception is going to be? John Calipari going back into Kentucky or Ed Cooley going back into Providence?
Ed Cooley was way worse. Not even close. That's vicious. That is vicious. It'll be bad, but like there's Chris Beard back to Texas Tech. That's up here. That's the worst I've ever seen. Then Cooley and then Calipari.
Because the biggest difference is that Kentucky fans wanted Cal gone.
Yeah. A lot of them are like, we hate you. But like, and you stink right now. And you also stink. You're not a threat coming in. You're not even a threat. You're not going to make the tournament. Think about that.
Wild, man. Like
wild.
Now imagine a scenario where he beats Kentucky on Saturday.
I know. That would be embarrassing.
That would
be bad.
That's a good segue because Kentucky went on the road today to Nashville, to Memorial Gymnasium, to Vanderbilt, and lost 74-69 in a game where they were down by 14 at halftime.
Yeah. And
they came storming back. I believe they were up. I'll get corrected on this if I'm wrong, but I believe they ended up having a 6-point lead at one point in the second half. It was definitely multiple possessions.
7-point lead at
so they were up by 7 late
58-51.
Yeah, they were up by 7 late in the second half without Andrew Carr.
Right. Yes.
And they ended up losing that game. Here's my biggest takeaway. Let's do the Kentucky angle first, and then we can talk about what this means for Vanderbilt. This is the second straight loss where the guy that I think is the most valuable player on Kentucky made some bad decisions late. Lamont Butler had a couple of really bad turnovers that led directly to points at the other end, right? And if you take away the free throws that Vanderbilt made late, those 4 points that he gave up ended up being more or less the difference in this game. And I am one of the biggest Lamont Butler fans that you are going to find anywhere on planet Earth.
Me too.
Right? I think that he has to be better than he's been the last couple of games. He has to be better than he was late in Alabama, and he certainly has to be better than he was against Vanderbilt. Yeah. And I wonder how much of that is
not having Andrew Carr probably is part of it.
Not having Carr, but also not having Kirk Risa available because Travis Perry's playing the backup point guard minutes. So I wonder if he's getting a little bit tired and a little bit run
the Noah ground. Kid was in there for like key minutes tonight. Where and I said this a few weeks ago when I saw them in person in Athens. I think they miss Kirk Risa. You look at his numbers, what he's been doing this year, and you're like, why would you miss Kirk Risa? Mm-hmm. They miss his, which is crazy to say, but it's true. They miss his leadership. They miss his energy. They miss his swagger, all of that. This is a team that, now I know they went to Starkville and got a big win against Mississippi State after losing against Georgia on the road, but I still feel like they don't have that shit to them. They don't walk in like a Kentucky team used to walk into an arena and instill any fear. There's no fear. They don't really talk. They're super quiet, unassuming, not intimidating. Again, when the shots are falling, it's pretty, but it's not like they're a physically imposing team.
Yeah, and they win a lot with flashy offense.
Yes,
and putting up points and kind of the really the fancy stuff that they run. Right, it's very different than like what we saw Auburn and Tennessee do tonight. Whereas Auburn proved tonight they can win a game when they got to win with their defense. I don't know. We saw Kentucky do it against Texas A&M, but that was the only time that we've seen them do it so far this season. But look, I do think that there are things that you can nitpick about the way that this game specifically played out for Kentucky, right? Like Lamont Butler had some bad turnovers. Otega Owe had a bad one late in the game. Kobe Brea didn't shoot all that well. You obviously don't have Andrew Carr, which just moves everybody one spot up on the depth chart, and you lose a little bit of his playmaking and his passing. But
all those guys, and they're down a couple key guys right now.
Yeah, but I also think that this said more to me. I said this on last Saturday too. To me, this said more about Vanderbilt than it did about Kentucky losing there, right? To me, it's you go on the road.
I probably made the same face when you said that. I don't. I think it says more about Kentucky that they weren't as dominant. Remember, like we all said it when they were ranked number 6 in the country. They deserved it based on what they had done, the results. But when you look at this Kentucky team, you're not surprised. Realistically, if I told you this at the beginning of the year and I said, hey, they're going to lose to Vandy, you'd be more surprised that they beat Gonzaga and won some of these other games and beat Duke than losing to Vandy.
I'd be more surprised that they beat Duke, knowing what we know about Duke now than anything else. But I also, like, people always – I don't want to say that those wins were fluky that they had at the start of the year.
No, but they could have went either way.
Yes.
They could have went either way, and they all went their way.
The last couple could have went either way ones have not gone.
Yes. They're not a dominant team. They're a good team. They're probably, and I've said this, if they make the Sweet 16, if they make the second weekend, if you're a Kentucky fan, you should be ecstatic. Yeah. I know you don't want to hear that. Because I know you have higher aspirations now because of who you beat.
They have higher aspirations, but I also think that most Kentucky fans do realize, and please, like I know that they will let us know if we're wrong, but I think most Kentucky fans do realize that this Kentucky team is not the Anthony Davis, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist Kentucky team. I think that they realize, yes, they were ranked as high as like 4th or 6th or whatever it was in the country, but this is more like a top 15-ish kind of a team than a top 5-ish.
Well, I mean, Kentucky fans aren't the most realistic bunch.
Yeah, but I think that they know their ball.
They know their ball, but they're
fans.
But they're fans, and when they see their guys beating Duke and going to Seattle and beating Gonzaga and beating Louisville pretty easily, I think they were getting a little bit like, hey, you know what? Maybe we can get a Final Four out of this year. Maybe we are that good.
They still might be able to. And look, I'll tell you this. I'd love to see Kentucky at the Final Four this year. Kentucky at the Final Four makes it a fun Final Four.
Imagine John Calipari in the what's the name of the tournament again? The Fox
Crown.
Tournament? In the Crown. Cal playing in the Crown and Mark Pope in Kentucky playing in the Final Four.
There's less than zero chance
the Cal plays in the Crown.
You don't think he's going to double tournament? Will play in whatever.
Yeah, I don't think an SEC team will.
Can I defend? I'm gonna defend Vanderbilt here and just
you
say
should defend him.
Jason Edwards was really, really good again tonight. Tyler Nickel for the second time against the top 10 team made some huge shots down the stretch. They are very, very well coached. They are tougher than you think that they are.
Byington's in the Coach of the Year discussion. Got to be in there. I'm not saying he's one, but I'm saying if you're listing 5-10 guys, Mark Byington has to be on that list. Has to be.
He might be on a list of 5 to 10 guys. He's not even in the top 2 in the SEC right now.
Okay, that's fine. Look at what he inherited, Rob.
No, I get
what he inherited.
He's done a great job.
You want to read me Jerry Stackhouse's record last year?
Here we go.
The last 5 years?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go.
Read me Stack won 9 games last year.
Go.
I think he won 4 in the league.
No, he's done a fantastic job. And I think that, like I said earlier, I do think that this win said more about this Vanderbilt team and what they are capable of doing this year than it did about Kentucky or any specific concerns that we may have about them. Anything you want to get to Ole Miss and Missouri? Like I just.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can kind of run through some of these other ones.
I'll say this about Ole Miss: they are the perfect example of what the SEC is this season, because they go on the road 12 days ago, I believe it was, right? 12 days ago, and they go into Alabama, they go into Tuscaloosa, and they kind of kick the shit out of Alabama a little bit, right? Like they physically beat them up. And the next game, it's overtime, and they lose one to Mississippi State that they had an opportunity to win. And then on Wednesday, they play Texas A&M at home in a game that they should have won and gave away.
Yeah.
And then you go on the road to Missouri, and Caleb Grill's got 22. Tamar Bates goes for 26. Dennis Gates has those dudes playing well. And all of a sudden, you go from being 4-0, and we're like, look, Ole Miss, are they good enough to make a Final Four?
Right. It changes quick.
Into this is a 3-game losing streak. This could get bad. That is why, to me, when you have the opportunity to win these close games in the SEC, you cannot give them away. You cannot do what Texas A&M did tonight. You can, if you have, you got to close out those ones that are close, because this league is too good and it will burn you at the end of the day.
All right, I have a message from our producer, Dagan Hughes.
What do you got?
And he wants to ask you a question here. Why are you ducking UConn and their loss to Xavier? Why are we an hour plus into the show and you have not talked about your UConn Huskies and the fact that they've now lost 3 out of 5 games, and they lose to a Xavier team that really hadn't won a close game?
I don't think it's that interesting of a conversation, right? Like, they're missing Liam McNeely.
Okay.
They don't have the guy that's their best player.
Okay.
We know that this team was not as good as the last 2 teams to begin with. And they go on the road to a Xavier team that, like, let's be frank, if this Xavier team had any idea how to close out a game, they'd be a top 15 team in America.
No
Do you want to go through the list
doubt.
of what they've done? They blew the lead at TCU.
Yep.
They blew the lead at Cincinnati.
Yep.
They had the chance to win at UConn in overtime and didn't win that game.
Without Fremantle, that
game.
game.
Yeah, they had the chance to beat Marquette at home, and Brian O'Connell decided that tripping is now legal in college basketball. And then they were at St. John's and they blew a 16-point. Like, this Xavier team, to me, is one of those teams that is going to probably get into the tournament at, like, as a 10 seed or an 11 seed. And
this is on me.
That is
is on Dagan. This is on me. This is my fault for letting it get this far. From now on, we will not allow the UConn Huskies losses to be buried on the field of 68 after dark. No longer. No longer.
So we're going to talk about, like, a team that's outside the top 25 losing. Like, what
they're
are they
the
doing
2-time defending champs.
Okay.
What was everybody talking about today? Dan Hurley on ESPN on game day.
He was.
Right.
What else do you have to add?
The PR firm was defending them.
What else do you
They've
have
been
to add?
retained.
What else do you have to add? Like, what is there to say?
Well, I
We didn't
agree.
really freak
I
out
think
on
when
the
you
refs,
when they get Liam McNeely back, then we'll have a better evaluation of them. The question is, will they be able to flip it back? Will they be able to, with Liam McNeely, be a true threat? Or are they a first weekend casualty no matter what?
I mean, they're going to end up being like a 6 or a 7 seed, right? And can they go and beat like a Tennessee?
I mean, you just mentioned Ole Miss. They're going to be a 6 or 7 seed. Why did you mention them ahead of UConn?
Because we were talking about the SEC, and Ole Miss is like a ranked on ranked game. Like, the fact that UConn is still in the top 25 right now, I think says a lot about.
They probably won't be after today.
Yeah, they're not going to be ranked anymore. Right. But, like, it says a lot about what Hurley's been able to do coaching this team and winning a lot of close games that maybe that they shouldn't have been able to win. Like, but
okay, so yes, I'll play devil's advocate here for you though a little bit. He's kept these guys in the program and tried to develop a lot of them, right? Jalen Stewart, one of them, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, some of these guys, Solo Ball has developed, but some of these other guys probably haven't developed as. I mean, DR has been awesome again, way better than I thought. Is some of this on him? At this point, is some of this on Dan Hurley? And it's hard to say because, again, they've won 2 titles. They got a new team again.
I mean, they misevalued Aiden Mahaney. They had opportunities to get.
He was actually this is the best version of Aiden Mahaney I've seen.
And they had opportunities to get guys that were better than him. And it's taking him a little bit more time. Like, that's the only one that really is like. I think that, like, you could blame Dan Hurley. No, man. Like, the bottom line is this. Liam McNeely is their best player. He is a 6'7". He's a point guard. He's an initiator. He's a passer.
He's in everything.
He's the guy that you can put in all of the actions that Cam Spencer was in last year, right? And he makes their offense so much more dangerous. He is their second best defensive rebounder for a team that really, really struggles to end possessions, right? He takes so much of the pressure. What you saw at the end of the game today, and like, to be honest, they had an opportunity to win that. The first play, they had two plays drawn up in the last minute. The first one, Solo Ball got a great look, and I will take that look 100 times out of 100. And if Solo Ball is going to make 43% of them, that just happened to be one that he didn't make. But after that, Xavier was really able to climb up all over Hassan Diarra. And when you only have one guy that can make things easier for teammates, you're kind of at the mercy of being able to run offense. And what we've seen the last 5-6 games, right? I'd even go back to the Providence game, the first one after McNeely got hurt, is that it's that much more difficult for them to be able to run offense without McNeely, because you can just all teams are doing, they're top locking everything, and they're blowing up all of these off-ball actions. And one, UConn doesn't have the guys strong enough to be able to run through those defenses, and two, they don't have dudes that are able to like take advantage of a matchup the way that they did in the past. And I think that changes when Liam McNeely gets back. So UConn is there. Let me put it like this.
There's still a story, though. You're trying to avoid the elephant in the room here. The elephant in the room is the two-time defending champs are still a story, really, especially if they lose.
I'm not trying to avoid it. Like
you did. You avoided it for an hour and 10 minutes.
Do you know what the biggest story in college basketball is? Cooper
talked
Flag.
We
didn't even get to Cooper Flag.
We'll get to
him. I don't care, dude. Like, I've seen UConn win 6 national championships in my life. You think I'm worried about them like being a 6 seed?
I think you're rattled right now.
I
think you're rattled.
I am the furthest.
All right, let's talk about Cooper Flag. Let's talk about Duke winning at Wake against the a Wake team that had been hot, that cut the deficit, put some game pressure on Duke today. So how much did that tell you about the Blue Devils?
A lot.
It did.
I actually,
Because why?
I actually thought that when we were trying to put together this rundown. Right?
Yeah, you wanted to put Duke like third.
I wanted to talk about them after the Houston-Kansas game, because I think that the fact, if you watch what happened in that second half when Wake Forest made their run, right?
Yeah.
Duke I think they missed their first 17 shots that weren't taken by Cooper Flag in the second half. And the criticism that we had after the Kentucky game, when he had the 2 turnovers late, after the Kansas game, when he had the turnover down the stretch and had another missed shot, right, was, all John Shire is doing is giving the ball to Cooper Flag and hoping that he can make a play. Now, Wake Forest is not Kentucky. Wake Forest is not Kansas. Wake Forest might actually be as good defensively as Kentucky and Kansas. It might even be better than them. I would make the argument that they're better than them. They've been the second best defensive team in the ACC behind the Duke Blue Devils. And Cooper took over late. He had 24, 7, and 6. He made all the big plays down the stretch. He had that drive and that dunk in traffic. There was an assist that he had where he got into the lane and kicked it out to Mason Gillis in the corner, banged home a 3. Yep. I thought Cooper Flag went into complete takeover mode down the stretch on the road against a team that was in second place in the ACC, that is terrific defensively, and absolutely won them that game in a game where Duke – that was the game Duke loses. That was the game Duke was supposed to lose, like on the road against that opponent, playing in 240p in a game where I don't know how that building is as yellow as it is every time you watch a Wake Forest game, but I feel like I'm liver failure and jaundiced just watching that game on TV every time Wake Forest has to play. I don't think they've got new cameras there since Randolph Childress
We
left
just
the
saw it on a
Forest.
TV that was a little discolored. That's all.
That was not just that game.
Just a little discolored.
It looked fine when we were watching.
Here's what I'll say. If I have the option to take any one player to start my team with this season, it's Cooper Flag. It's clearly Cooper Flag. I'm not even thinking about it, because again, you can put him in so many different spots, Rob. Right? You can have him be the initiator. You could play him at the 4. You could just tell him, "Hey, Cooper, we just want you to be the best damn defender, and we're not even going to utilize you that much out." He can do whatever you want him to do. And whatever you tell him to do, what's he going to do? He's going to do it. That dude is going to do it. He is going to play hard on every possession. not change his demeanor at all. Cooper Flagg is, again, that's why we have Duke as a co-favorite to win the whole thing right now. It's Cooper Flagg. All the other pieces are nice. Tyrese Proctor didn't shoot it well for a while tonight. Hit a big three late to kind of get him going. Caleb Foster hasn't been great this year, right? Con Knippel started slow. He started kind of picking up, shooting the ball. I love Malawach in terms of what he brings defensively, but he was in foul trouble tonight. They had to go to the other kid, Ngangba. He fouled out. I mean, but as long as you have Cooper Flagg, I feel like you could throw out me, you, Fanta. Well, give us T.O. Give us one shooter and Cooper Flagg, and we're going to be fine. We're going to beat some teams. He's that good. He's that good.
Yes. I agree.
He's awesome. He's awesome.
I don't agree that we'd be able to beat any teams with the four of us on the floor with him.
I mean,
I think that you are right. Like, he makes everybody around him so much better because of the things that he can erase defensively and the shots that he can create on the offensive end of the floor. I think, honestly, I think my biggest takeaway outside of what we saw in this game tonight, I think my biggest takeaway from today was, I think that was the moment for Duke for me. Because look, you're up by 13 on the road and you give it all away. Wake Forest was up by 7 in the second half. That was the game that Duke loses, right? That was the one where they go on the road and they shit the bed in conference play. And Cooper Flagg said, nah, that's not how this is going to go. That's not how this story is going to go.
Are you worried at all that they're playing in a league right now that looks a little bit like what Gonzaga – now, Gonzaga got to 2 title games, so they could do it. But you know where I'm going with this. Are you concerned at all that the ACC is not the ACC of old and that Duke isn't going to be tested consistently? Or, would you rather Duke or would you rather be Auburn having to play in the SEC and play really good teams every night? What would you rather be?
I'd like to have the happy medium.
Yeah, I know, but
you can't.
But you can't.
Probably be Duke.
You'd rather have that?
I think it'd probably be Duke.
Because you're fresh and you can tinker with things. And
I don't, the biggest
worry you get a false sense of how good you are, too.
So, well, one, I do think that someone like Gonzaga, for example, right, has been to 2 national title games since 2017, 2 of the last 8 national title games. They've been to the last 9 Sweet 16s. They play in a much worse league than anything the ACC has ever been. And they've never had a problem when it gets to March. So I don't know if that's necessarily an issue. 2, I do think that the ACC is good enough, especially when you go on the road, where I think the concern would be you end up falling into bad habits because you don't have to be perfect to win games. And I don't think that on the road in the ACC is that. And I think that tonight was a perfect example.
You know why I'm not worried? I'm going to answer my own question. Because they have Cooper Flagg, and he plays hard every night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess I just feel like he sets the tone for that team. They're all business. You watch them. Does Tyrese Proctor ever smile?
He did tonight.
Did he?
Yeah, there was a point in the game.
I didn't see it.
He was talking to the ref, and the ref made a joke, and he ended up smiling.
But rarely, they're all business, aren't they?
My favorite moment of the Duke win was they went to zone. Coming in tonight, I believe they played 1 or 2 possessions of zone. I can't remember. Because
they were in foul trouble.
Yeah, so they went to zone because Wake Forest can't shoot, and they were kind of carving them offensively one-on-one. And so they go to zone, and it worked for a couple of possessions. And afterwards, John Shire was trying to make it seem like it was something that they had worked on. He was like, "Yeah, we've kind of practiced it, but it's nice to have it in your back pocket." But I threw it on, and nobody knew what they were doing. And Cooper Flagg was sitting next to him and was like, "Cooper, did you have any idea what you were doing in that zone?" And he just goes, "None." So they just figured it out. But I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If we end up with a Duke-Auburn rematch in the national title game, I'll take it. I'll take that all the way.
Yeah, me too. Listen, to me, I've been covering this sport a long time, and I'll safely say Cooper Flagg is one of the top 10 overall players that I've seen come through college basketball. I don't know what he's going to be at the next level, but you can't find too many weaknesses. And again, for a freshman who just turned 18, his basketball IQ is ridiculous.
Yep. All right. I want to roll through a couple of the bubble winners because we were.
I'm getting tired.
Yeah, I do think I would make the argument Xavier was probably the biggest bubble winner of the day, all things considered, and I do think I would say that there's a little bit of
Texas was a big one.
There's a little bit of bid collusion going on in the Big East.
Really?
I think
You think Dan Hurley
throwing games
through the game now?
Throwing games.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. You couldn't let it go.
It's
not actually a loss for UConn.
No, but look, Xavier
They're now
won,
point shaving.
Xavier won at I'm obviously joking. Xavier won at Marquette, and now they've beaten UConn, and like those are the two marquee wins that you had to get for Xavier to be able to have a chance.
Now you got to win the games you're supposed to win.
At UConn, and they're in a position where they probably have a chance to get to the tournament. I think that Xavier's got a little bit more hill to climb than Creighton does at this point, but those are two huge wins.
Yeah, now you have 5 teams in the mix.
5 teams in the mix.
Yep.
SMU, I think, is going to end up on Selection Sunday as one of the ones where we're like, what the hell do we do with this team? They are currently 0-4 against quad 1 opponents.
Okay, so how do you have them in?
They are. I don't have them in. I just want to. They're 15-1 against everybody else. Okay. I think that they are going to. Their quad 1 losses are all by an average of 18 points per game. I think that is going to be the team that we look at on Selection Sunday, and we're like, what the hell is going on with this opponent?
All right. Let's get to North Carolina. Let's get to a team.
That was North Carolina.
Thank you.
Goes to overtime with BC at home and finds a way to be able to win. Like, they lose that game, and North Carolina
would have been 3 straight.
Dunzo.
Would have been 3 straight.
Dunzo.
Stanford at home, at Wake. They escape against Boston College at the Dean Dome.
Mm-hmm.
Boston College, they were 1-7 in the ACC. Like, I'm worried. I mean, we were worried all year.
Like, how
were we not worried?
Just now is when you became worried. Like, have you been paying attention to North Carolina? Where have you been?
Yeah, I mean, I'm worried though. Like, I'm again. I think Hubert Davis gets one more year, but I think there's going to be, like, if this team takes a nosedive, which today's win showed me that's alarming. That is a major, and again, I know they've struggled lately, but that one says a ton about where they're at right now. And to me, if this thing goes bad, I'm concerned about the backlash of the fan base. Because again, you're Carolina. Like, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be in the roller coaster ride.
Yeah. Pitt won at Cuse.
Yep.
So Pitt was the 11th seed in our latest bracket. UNC was the first team out in our most recent consensus bracket.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see how that all kind of plays out. It is worth noting Wake Forest, who is kind of in that same bubble conversation, has the rest of like a nightmare run here. They got Duke coming up. They have to go to Pitt coming up. Then they have to go to the West Coast coming up, and then they come back to Florida State, and then they have to go to SMU. So those are their next 6 games. That's going to be their decision. Pitt coming up next week, North Carolina at home, at Wake, and then they're at North Carolina on February 8th. I think by the time we get to Valentine's Day, we're going to have a much, much clearer picture of what's happening in the ACC for a bubble conversation. Clemson, by the way, they beat Virginia Tech today on the road. They're 17-4 overall. 9-1 in the ACC. They got a Kentucky win.
They're 9-1 in the ACC.
Yeah, they're 9-1 in the ACC. Like, they're just kind of floating along, and no one is even talking
Brad
about
Brunell, just quietly.
I made this point the other day. I think Brad Brunell is the perfect example of what the ACC has become, in the sense that I don't think that he's doing anything differently now than he did 10 years ago in terms of the kind of players that he's recruiting, the level that he's recruiting, the talent that he's bringing in.
Okay.
And like 8 years ago, 10 years ago, it was like, if he gets to a tournament.
They're NIT most of the time.
Yeah, if he gets to a tournament, it was a good season.
Just shows how the league has changed.
And now he's got those same guys in there, and he's just kicking everybody's ass because he's older, they're well coached, they know what they're supposed to do, and they're good enough.
Yep.
And good for him for being able to stick it out and get to this point. But I think that is kind of the,
all right, let's hit in a couple more before, because I'm ready. Honestly, I'm not kidding. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to call in the bullpen for Vince in a minute.
Calling the bullpen.
Yeah. So
Michigan State.
I'm tired.
Country 8-0 in the Big Ten.
I've already gone like 8 innings. I cannot throw a complete game. I'm old. I can throw a complete game tonight.
But you can throw a football 45 yards.
You saw me.
Freshman
You saw me.
on the floor.
You saw me, did you not?
For Michigan State.
Did you not?
Win.
Answer the question. You have yet to publicly acknowledge that I threw the ball 45 yards.
First of all, there was no way to measure that. I just didn't. I didn't want to. I was tired of listening.
It was a lot further than you.
Like, congratulations, dude! Like you can throw a football 45 yards.
Good 10 yards further.
I drive a Dodge Stratus. I could do 100 push-ups in 20 minutes. I could throw a football 45 yards. I drive a Dodge Stratus. Don't worry about it.
Here he goes.
Vince gets the joke. JoJo gets the joke.
I forget the Dodge Stratus. I'm so tired. I don't get the
I drive a Dodge Stratus. Michigan State.
He's the man.
To the Garden. I am the man. 20 points from Chase Richardson. He was the best freshman on the floor. He was the best player for Michigan State.
Yes.
Michigan State and Clemson are kind of in the same conversation.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Listen, here's the point. Everybody's talking about all the other teams in the conference and what it means. What is Purdue?
People are talking about Michigan
Carolina,
State now.
And now it's like
people are talking about Michigan State now.
2 games up on everybody.
Nobody's talking about Clemson. People are talking about Michigan State.
T.O.'s talking about Clemson. T.O. won't shut up.
Well, he's the only one. But I'm talking about Michigan State.
T.O. won't shut up, period.
Because to me, the Spartans are kind of sneaky right now. And they're sneaky because, again, we looked at them and we're like, Champions Classic, their talent didn't really do much for us, right? We all walked away saying the same thing. This is
Michigan State stinks.
We kind of said that. And we didn't know Jace Richardson was going to be this good. We didn't know Fears was going to change the team in a lot of ways. They've got a bunch of different guards that Izzo can use. Mm-hmm. The bigs, Apollo's been pretty, he's been solid and giving them good minutes. Again, they've had a favorable schedule, no doubt. We'll see what they do the second half of Big Ten play, but sometimes confidence is very important early. And I think that's one thing. Izzo can kind of tear you down at times, right? If you're not playing well, Izzo, it's going to be tough love. Mm-hmm. He's probably trying to give this team tough love and humble them a little bit. But what they do is they have confidence. They've won a lot of games, and a lot of these other Big Ten teams right now have kind of stubbed their toe, or Illinois is up and down. Indiana was supposed to be maybe those were the 2 most talented teams. Illinois is still in the tournament, but we don't know what to make of them. And Indiana right now, they're looking at the crown.
The college basketball crown.
They're headed to the crown.
All right, we'll get toast here in a second. Let me just roll through a couple other results that are notable. Mississippi State goes on the road to South Carolina, wins in overtime. They do what all of the other teams in the conference have kind of struggled to do. They blew a lead on the road and still found a way to be able to win a game that you're supposed to be able to win. Credit to them for that. Oregon, number 15 team in the country, goes to Minnesota and takes a loss. Shout out to Ben Johnson. It's been a great week for people named Ben Johnson in Big Ten country.
Yeah.
Detroit Lions assistant coach gets the Chicago Bears job.
Wow. Surprised you knew that.
Minnesota head coach picks off Oregon in his own building. Kansas State, out of nowhere, up by 24 points on number 23 West Virginia at halftime. They end up winning that. I don't know what the final was. They were up by 15 late. Big win for Kansas State. Ed Cooley goes back to Providence for the second time.
Yeah.
Takes a loss. Shout out to the Friars. Congratulations on winning your Super Bowl. Big win for Providence.
Did you just say that?
Big win, like the fans. Yes, it was the biggest game of the season for Providence.
I'm told it
fans.
Was not their Super Bowl.
For the Providence fans, it definitely was.
Okay.
It definitely was the Super Bowl. And
what else we got? Oregon losing to Minnesota.
Yeah, I said
How
that.
About
But
that
hold on. The last one that I want to talk about is Mark Sears.
Oh yeah.
Alabama.
Yeah, that's a good point. We haven't talked about that.
Alabama at home struggles in the first half against LSU. Mark Sears, I believe he was scoreless. He was 0 for 5 from the floor. They go into halftime. They come out of halftime. He's on the bench. He spends the entire second half on the bench. Alabama wins.
Yep.
But the story is Mark Sears didn't get off the bench.
Yep.
Towel over his shoulder. There was one point in the second half with about 11 minutes left where the camera kind of zoomed in on him, and it looked like he was in tears on the sideline.
I don't know if he was or not.
I don't know if he was. But he was very clearly not happy and emotional over there on the sideline. I don't know if you have any information
I do.
on that.
I do. I talked to Nato. I was communicating with Nato, so I didn't talk to him. And he said no injury, that he went with the guys who gave them the best chance to win in the second half. and Mark Sears was not on the floor. And Mark Sears has played so well lately. Over the last 3-4 weeks, he has looked like an All-American, the player that we thought he was going to be. And we didn't watch that game, but obviously he did not play well enough in the first half to warrant. And I love Nate for that. I give him a lot of credit, right? I mean, he's your guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, the question is, if you do that to him, how are you?
It's
You
not
better
the
have.
first, not the first time.
No,
it's
it is not. It is not. It happened earlier in the year when he was struggling.
And the message,
but he's played so well lately. That's what surprised
the message
me.
we got. So what's interesting is the message we got from Alabama after the first one is that he asked himself to sub out.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that they're lying about that, but I'm just saying like that was what they were saying happened after the first one. And this time, it seems like a very different scenario. So that's
it's about winning games.
It is about winning games, and I'll tell you this, man. I don't know if Alabama is able to get back to the Final Four without Mark Sears.
No, they're not. They're not. Of course they're not. They need him. And again, the question is, what's their relationship? Mm-hmm. Nate Oates and Mark Sears. Can Nate Oates talk to him and get him back to the player he was the last few weeks? If he wasn't playing well tonight, they got enough other guys. That's the beauty of that Alabama team. If you're not playing well, he can sit you down.
Yep. All right. You want to get to toast?
I would like to get to toast of the night. Let's
do it.
You want me to do mine first, and then I will.
Do yours. Tell JoJo and Vince come over here. Just come share the mic. You guys can.
All right. We'll do it together. That's
all right.
That's a good
you go
idea.
First. Why don't you get it started while we wait?
Who's my? I am going to. Who am I going to give it to? I am going to give my toast of the night to Kelvin Sampson. Because when you go into Fog Allen and win the way he did tonight in double overtime, when last year they got absolutely pummeled, and it looked like it was over multiple times tonight, and they end up winning that game.
Was it Hummel pummeled or just regular pummeled?
It was a Hummel pummeled. That's exactly what it was last year. But I'm going to give it to Kelvin Sampson. I know there are probably other under the radar people. Mark Byington would be a good one, but I just think, man, you win at Fog Allen, that doesn't happen very often in the Bill Self era. So I'm going to give it to Kelvin Sampson and the Houston Cougars.
So we're the Auburn pod. I have to give it to Miles Kelly. Didn't really start off great.
Really?
Shocking, right?
Let's get. Can we do one homer toast and then one regular toast, or no?
Okay, yeah. So we'll do.
Right.
I'll throw it to Miles Kelly.
Okay.
Didn't really start off great, but made 2 threes when it counted. Of course, the final one won the game, and then a regular toast.
We can come back to you if you want.
I'm gonna have to give it to Texas Longhorns, Trey Johnson.
Yeah,
Career game. Me and Vince both picked Texas last night. I
You
know
did.
that was Rob. Texas A&M was his
who
favorite.
Who didn't pick Texas last night?
Well, you switched up actually. So
Right. I went with you guys. Exactly. I went with the smart group.
Now do Kentucky.
Okay. Anyway, I'll give it to.
Then after that, do UConn. Yeah.
Well, definitely not Dan Hurley, but Miles Kelly and Trey Johnson for me.
Yeah, I think I guess my homer pick is the Jungle because
that's a good pick.
They really showed up and they made a difference. I thought in the last couple of minutes of this game, and I guess another toast sort of in line with that was Todd Pettiford. I thought he stepped up. The challenge of Zakai Ziegler is not an easy one, and the freshman from New Jersey, I thought, well, yes, Zakai got the best of him a couple times. I thought he really stepped up, and in moments where Auburn needed points, Zakai or Todd Pettiford, he supplied some points. So I'd say those two for Auburn, and two, I think Tennessee. I mean, they showed up more than I thought they would. They really not even surprised me, but they stood their ground in a place that's considered one of the toughest places to play, and the hype that was built around this game. So I guess toast to Tennessee. I think they're going to be dangerous in the SEC, obviously going forward, along with the other top teams in the SEC and across the conference. But those are mine.
And of course, obviously, we toast to Janai Broom. That's the obvious answer.
Get back out there.
Whatever A-Rod treatment he got this week, it worked.
I got two. I got two.
Okay.
My first toast of the night is going to go to Deidon Thomas at UNLV. So for people that didn't see that game, Donovan Denkos for 34, Nelly Jr. Joseph 22 and 18. But Deidon Thomas, the star point guard for UNLV, goes to the line, with a chance to make 2 free throws and force overtime, and misses the first with, I think it was 0.7 seconds left on the clock. So he's been on the pod with us before. He's awesome.
Yes.
Keep your head up, man. That is a rough one. It's going to take a while to get past. And my other toast of the night is to John Gross, because John Gross is going to have endless bragging rights. He is brothers with Travis Steele. Travis Steele is a head coach at Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio and Akron were both 6-0 in the MAC coming into today. And you know what John Gross did? He kicked his brother's ass.
Yeah, the older brother kicked the younger brother's ass.
Final score, 1-0. Akron wins 102-75. So toast to John Gross, because he's going to be toasted quite a bit. He's going to be eating out of that one for a while. So John Gross, Akron Zips. Everybody on Auburn apparently got a toast of the night as well. Trey Johnson, the Tennessee Volunteers, and I don't even remember who used that at this point. Kelvin Sampson. It was Kelvin Sampson. He definitely had no toast. He was just like, oh, let me check the score up. All I got is Houston. I'll go with Kelvin Sampson. Hey, one last toast. Our producer, Dagan Hughes, it's his birthday today.
It is?
Yeah, he turns 36 today.
Wow.
Yeah. Congratulations,
my brother.
You look great for 36.
Happy birthday
really good.
to Dagan.
Really good.
Well, technically, it's yesterday. It was his birthday is yesterday now.
Okay.
So it's technically
121.
Yeah,
Shout out Dagan.
He turned 36
right now we're
today.
2 hours into the show, aren't we?
No, we're an hour and 36 minutes. So,
that's it?
Listen,
we got more time. Let's
It's
go.
been fun. Welcome to the jungle, straight out the jungle, however you want to phrase it. Auburn has been great. And we finally came down here and saw a win. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Feel the 68 after dark.